Hey, what's up? You're tuned into The Cutting Room, the show where we talk to industry-leading marketing professionals about their content marketing philosophy, process, and pregame before they edit an article live. I'm your host, Tommy Walker, and thank you so much for joining us live today. If this is your first time here, please let us know in the chat so we can say what's up and let us know a little bit what you're expecting to get out of the episode today. And if you're not new and you're a returning visitor, thank you so much. Why don't you let the other new folks know what your favorite episode was so far? So before we get started, I'd like to thank our new sponsor. We have a new official sponsor in Ahrefs, and they are actually one of the first tools that I ever bought when I started the consultancy. Right now, they have an offer for the Ahrefs Webmaster tools where it will help you to identify any issues with your website. It's going to help you find 404 errors, broken links, etc., stuff like that. But also they have a Site Explorer feature which will allow you up to 5,000 pages per month being crawled, and it will help you search for the top 100 issues that could hurt your site with broken links. And Site Explorer also helps you find backlinks and traffic data. It gives you keywords that you're ranking for. It shows you the referring domains, the strength of those domains, and many, many other things. And you can sign up for free at ahrefs.com/AWT. It is a fantastic tool, wonderful things that you can do with it, and you can get many, many bits of insight on your search ability for your website. Now, that being said, we are here to talk about AI in content marketing and specifically with editing. And the reason I wanted to do this episode, not only because everybody is talking about it, but also to clear up some misconceptions on what this tool can be, right? As an editor, as a longtime editor, I care very deeply about the quality of content that goes out. And I think there are some fantastic opportunities to be done here with these tools if we accept them for what they are. And to make sure that they are doing what we want them to do, we have to first understand what the 4 different types of editing are. If we don't understand how editing itself as a practice works, it's going to be very difficult to tell the AI what it is that we want it to do. So let's talk about the 4 different types of editing before we talk about how we can use AI to actually edit. So the first one is developmental or substantial edits. And this is the big picture stuff, right? This is where if you were working on a book, you'd find the plot holes. You're looking to see the substance of the piece. Is the content coherent? Are you telling a complete story? Are you organizing the necessities and there are no glaring issues, right? This is the stuff that makes a piece substantial, right? That's why it's a substantial edit. And we want to use these as an editor. These are the pieces where you really start to understand, like, is this piece doing what it is I want it to do, right? In a lot of cases, the person who does this would be the editor-in-chief. They're making sure that the content itself is complete, but it's not necessarily doing things like copy edits, line edits, or proofreading. In fact, those are different types of editing. So the next type of editing is exactly that, right? Copy editing. It's recasting sentences. It's making sure the flow of the content looks well. It's the word choice. You want to preserve the voice of the editor or of the writer. You want to talk about meaning. You want to make things believable, getting rid of passive voice and making things active. The content editing is the person who's making sure that all of the small choices, the minor choices that are being made, really communicate what that developmental piece is trying to do, right? Are we using the right word for this particular emotion? Are we making sure that the flow of this piece gets people drawn from top to bottom? And these types of edits are important for the engagement of the piece, the ability to keep people drawn in. So if the developmental edits are about the big ideas and finding the plot holes, if you will, then the content edits are the ones that are going to get people drawn in and really engaged with the piece overall. After that, we have copy editing. So this is where we're looking at research. Is the research what it's supposed to be? Are your references correct? Are you checking capitalization, punctuation, formatting, grammar, correctness, and consistency? These are the types of edits where we might call these line edits, right? Are we making sure that the formatting is the same across the board? Are we making sure that we're interpreting the data that we're citing correctly, right? These are also really important and very, very common in this space. And the last one finally is proofreading, which I think we all kind of have an idea of what that is, but it's the final polish, right? It's the polish, it's the typos, it's the grammar, it's consistency with the formatting, punctuation, and correcting many obvious errors, right? So we have to understand what those 4 different types of edits are, because if we don't, we can't really instruct the AI to do what it is that we want it to do, right? So with that in mind, I want to show you some things that I've been working on that hopefully will make this a little bit more substantial, right? That gives us something more tangible to grab onto instead of 35 prompts to da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to show you some of the things that I've been working on to help develop a piece of content from the very top, and I'll give you some prompts along the way, and then we can talk about the additional types of prompts that we're using to make sure that it's all clean and clear in the way that we want it to go. So without any further ado, let me just share my screen here. So the first kind of edit that I want to do, right, is I want to make sure, let's say we're doing a piece of search-oriented content. And that search-oriented content, we might be looking at something like landing pages. We want to write an article about landing page optimization, and we need to understand what it is that other folks are doing. Quite often, as an author, you might look at the top 3 to 10 results and say, okay, what are people missing? You start to internalize this stuff a little bit more. How can I outrank all of them by making a better piece, right? And this is good, right? It's pretty time consuming, but it's something that I highly recommend everybody does. Overall, if you want to know what the best pieces are according to Google, you have to understand, you have to take a look, right? But it is time consuming. So ChatGPT just released their new plugins, right? And hold on just a moment. And with those plugins, one of the new ones that I really like is this this link reader plugin. Now, I've developed a prompt that will say, provide a summary. What I'm doing is taking the top results and I'm asking ChatGPT to provide a summary of the article and list its top 5 strengths and weaknesses along with a list of suggestions on how to improve, right? And we're going to do this in real time, so we'll have to work on the model or work on how the model is taking its time with this. So while we're waiting for that, I would love to sort of hear in the chat, what are some of your experiences so far with ChatGPT? Are you using other AI models right now? And how are we, where are some of the best places that you're finding these resources? So you can see right here, right, we're starting to get a summary of the article, and we're getting the strengths and the weaknesses, right? Strengths so far, it's comprehensive, it's providing practical tips, it uses visuals, relevance and credibility. Now keep in mind, with this new plugin, it is also going to that website and reading what is on the page. Now we can see here, right? If I looked at the article itself, which I have, we can see it has a lack of case studies. There's limited depth on certain topics. There's not a lot of interactive elements. There's a focus on mobile optimization, which is a huge thing, especially nowadays, right? And it's got a more of a promotional tone, which makes sense because it is for a SaaS company. Now, we can see here some of these are a little bit more reflective. The suggestions for improvement, they're reflective of what it is that we're, of the weaknesses, but we can also get some pretty good insights out of these from time to time, right? So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to take the next top result, and we'll put this in here, right? Result number 2 in that SERP, right? Provide a summary of this article, list its top 5 strengths and weaknesses, along with a list of suggestions on how to improve. Now we see the second article, the landing page optimization guide on Hotjar's website. We've got that one. And now we're going to do one more website. We're going to check this out. Now I want to do this from the very beginning, from the outset, because what this is going to do is give us a wide base of information that normally we would have to look at on our own manually and really take the time. Now, for me personally, I like to take notes by hand. I'll write all of this stuff down in a notebook. I might bookmark any certain resources that it mentions, and really try to understand what this piece is about. I still recommend you do that, right? And especially if you are an editor, when you're looking at this, you want to create a brief that is going to be substantial, right? You want to give an author the information, a lot of the information of what they need up front to make that a substantial, they know what they're doing, right? And if you are an author, you can still use these prompts to turn in better first drafts, right? So now we're looking at this, right? We've got the third article. We can see, again, some of this stuff you're going to see familiar, right? Lack of case studies, limited depth on certain topics, lack of interactive elements, and a promotional tone, right? So this gives us this really good idea of like, okay, so if the third article has a lack of interactive elements, and we're starting to see lack of interactive elements here, here, and here, maybe there's something we can do that's a little extra, right? I'm going to go do one more prompt in this, which will help us develop a really solid outline. So the next bit, right, is the next prompt is, given all of the information above, please provide an outline for a piece on landing page optimization that incorporates each piece's strengths and suggestions for improvements, right? Now, this is where we're going to get some really, really great information to help guide the creation process from here, right? So understanding landing page optimization, the importance of understanding your audience, identifying potential problems in landing pages, comprehensive guide to landing post best practices, right? And now we're taking a lot of what we would do in these in a normal post, if you will, and we're starting to flesh all of this out, right? Now we can see here it's incorporated case studies. It's incorporated mobile optimization. It talks about tools. It talks about mistakes, right? It talks about interactive elements. Now we've generated this really solid outline for a piece, and this is something that either as an author I can take to flesh out a little bit further, or as an editor, look at this as a starting point, right? Don't necessarily just hand this out willy-nilly, but look at this as a starting point for what we can use to flesh this out. I really like this because it does mimic some of the process that I've used in the past when it comes to creating briefs, and it really, it will really give me some guidelines as to what it is that I'm looking to do, right? Or what it is that I'm looking for in a piece. Give me just a moment here. What I'll do, right, is say we assign this out, right? And once that's assigned out, we're going to get a piece back. So we've got a draft, right? And we'll say, okay, landing pages exist to drive leads and conversions, but what if your landing pages could do that and drive meaningful organic traffic, right? So what is an SEO landing page? Now, what I normally do with this, and I would normally do something like this in Playground, because I can set the system level rules in advance. but I can't seem to get Playground working right now. What I'll do is copy this, bring it over here. I've just copy and pasted the article into here, but something I normally like to do is to set a system level chatbot, right? So in this case, we're going to give this this bot a personality, and we'll say, in this case, you are editor GPT. Your role is to edit a blog that focuses on in-depth Google search optimized long-form marketing and sales definitions for phrases like buyer persona and landing pages, right? We'll just take that out. The blog is written in a business casual tone and mostly targeting junior marketing and sales professionals who seek to understand these basic terms. The blog does not use phrases like you and is generally written in the third person using phrases like sales leader, marketing professionals, and the like. You will be given articles to evaluate. Your first task is that you will provide a short definition, 80 words or less on the subject matter. Your second goal will be to evaluate each article for its strengths and weaknesses. You will give 5 bullet points on each. Then, in a separate list, you will provide suggestions on how you would improve specific weaknesses. This list will not have any limitations. Your final goal will be to edit for word economy, creating a table notating the paragraph number, original text, and suggested revisions. When finished, provide a summary of your overall opinion of the article and noting the good and bad areas of opportunity. Right? Always want to make sure that it's a robot. Right? We want to talk to it like a robot. So we're telling it here. If we break down what this is, right? You are editor GPT. So we're telling it what its role is, or what its name is. Your role is to edit a blog that focuses on this. Right? We want to give it as much context as possible up front. We want to tell it what the tone of the blog is and who it's targeting and what are they trying to do. We're also giving it some rules as we get a little bit more granular. It does not use phrases like you and is generally written in the third person, right? Telling it what it's going to do. Now I'm breaking down its tasks, right? A lot of times what we see when people are talking about the rules or what AI can do, they're not thinking about it in terms of tasks. They're just trying to give it a set of things that they want it to do, but without breaking it down step by step, right? A lot of what I'm seeing with the AI, especially with the conversational ones like ChatGPT, is that we have to talk to it like it's actually a robot. We don't have to say please. We don't have to say thank you, though I do like to recommend it in case the AI does take over someday. We want to give it those instructions and tell it like it's a robot, right? And then I like to just say type to ... to confirm you understand, so it gets its role, right? And then the other thing you'll notice when I put the prompt in here, when I put the article in here, it was in curly brackets here, article equals. And this is one of those things, maybe it's necessary, maybe it's not, but I like to show it what I'm defining as this particular piece, right? Or like what it is that it's looking to do. Because I could just say, I could just copy the article in here and paste the article in here, and then that's that. But if I tell it, article, this is the article, it's going to give it just that little bit of extra context to go through. Now, let's see what it does. Now, we're doing this in real time, so it very well could backfire on me, but let's hope not, right? So now we will enter the prompt, right? So here we go. Subject, SEO-friendly landing pages, a guide to da-da-da-da. And we get a summary. This is fast, right? Article provides a comprehensive guide on creating SEO-friendly landing pages that are designed to rank well in search and drive conversion. We get a clear definition of the SEO landing page and its purpose. It provides a concise overview of the SEO best practice. It highlights the importance for, right? And you can read all this, right? And again, this article could provide more examples and case studies to illustrate the concepts and techniques discussed. Now, what I would normally do is go through the original article and look for this stuff in a developmental edit. But if I'm looking at this first, right, it kind of gives me an idea of knowing what I'm going into. Now, the main thing is that I do have to check my biases when I go into the piece, but it does really allow a lot of upfront context and say, like, okay, if this language model has a lot broader sense of what's going on overall on this particular subject, this might give me a really solid place to start when I go to do my developmental edits, right? Or when I communicate developmental edits. If I'm looking for this stuff in advance, I might be able to identify that and go, this might be a perfect place for a case study. This might be a really good spot to include some examples, right? What's missing in the definition here? How can we start to bring that out a little bit more and communicate appropriately to the reader, right? It doesn't talk enough about backlink building, right? Including strategies for acquiring high quality backlinks for promoting shareable content. Maybe that's not necessary, but might be something depending on the context, right, of the piece. While the importance of monitoring page speeds in core web vitals is mentioned, specific optimization techniques and tools could be explored further. That's a really good one that I might not see and might have an opportunity to get that, right, where I can find those opportunities. Right, incorporating additional tips or tools for conducting content audits. Lacks a conclusion or summary of the key takeaways, right? So these are really good common things that I might look at overall, but now I know what I'm looking at when I go into the piece to see if I can find those opportunities overall, right? So again, we have sort of suggestions for improvement. These are kind of a reflection of the weaknesses in this particular case, but we don't necessarily see that in every single edit, right? Now, here's what I'm going to do, right? This is my next favorite edit, right? Suggested revisions, original text, right? So here we go. So what we've looked at here, right, from that high-level overview is the developmental edit that we were talking about before in the very beginning. These are the things that we might be able to include and create a more comprehensive draft, right? Now, if we start to dive down a little bit further, right, into the other types of edits, we might be looking at content editing now, right? We're looking out for word choice, word economy, and seeing if we can just tighten up the language just a little bit more while preserving the meaning of each phrase, so we can get tighter copy, right? And this prompt is, please edit for word economy, track revisions in a table noting paragraph number, original text, and suggested revisions. Also make note of the number of words cut, right? So now we're going to get a nice, neat little table if ChatGPT wants to cooperate with me right now. Yep. So we're going to get this table that shows us, right, what we can do, what the original text is, and what the suggested revisions are. And what it will normally do, and this is actually a stronger limitation than it was before, it will normally do this, do the paragraphs bit by bit, right? Only so much at a time. And you can see, like, it will continue to cut the words. You can start to, right? It will give you a really solid idea. If you have to do this multiple times over, it's going to do it. It's making smaller tables than I'm normally used to. But these are the places where now I'd be looking at going back and forth into the document and seeing if these cuts actually make sense. But what we're looking at here is just tightening up the words overall. So in this case, right, original text, keyword research is the foundation of a successful SEO landing page, right? It's not bad, but keyword research is crucial for successful SEO landing pages. It tightens it up just a little bit more. Open the tool and enter a keyword that describes the product or service you're making a landing page. Next, the revision. Enter a keyword relevant to your landing page's product or service in the tool. Right, so we can start to cut down on unnecessary words. And in this case, we can see in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, we've managed to cut 46 words while still retaining the meaning, right? And this last one, semantic keywords will help your page rank better in a more targeted manner overall. We can just cut that down to semantic keywords, improve page ranking, and targeting. Some of these you might want to use, some of these you might not. But overall, it does give you a much stronger idea of where you can start and how you can start to incorporate these pieces into your edits. If we want to do things like, the content editing and, say, hey, I want to make this sentence a little bit more spicy, or give me better word choices for this particular sentence, right? We have we have this objective, non-biased perspective from a robot that has a much larger vocabulary than we do. Also has, it has perfect grammar. It's going to have perfect spelling. It's going to have all of these other tools that we might not necessarily have in our own toolbox. Now, there's more you can do with this. One of the other things that I really like to do is role play, right? So this one says, you are a junior marketer GPT. You work at a startup that has just closed its Series B funding round. Your CMO has tasked you with to work with an agency, right, to create a series of landing pages. However, this is your first time you've heard of the term, and you're too afraid to ask what it is. You've Googled the term landing page, and you have found the following article. Please point out any areas that might cause confusion or raise more questions. Right, now we can ask it, what are some areas you found confusing? Right? And now, as we're starting to role play with the AI, we can look at that and go, okay, we don't normally have the ability to talk directly with our customers like we would normally want, but we can start to define some roles here and role play back and forth, not only to check our work here, but to also ask it, if you are searching for something like this, what are the questions that you have? What are some extra context? What are you looking to get out of this by the time that you're done reading it, right? So this is basically how I am using ChatGPT to edit. I am using other tools. How often do you use ChatGPT for headings and titles? It really depends. I like to use it to generate ideas. That typically comes from the role play with the AI at first. Like, hey, what are some? Here's the challenge. Now, you're searching for this. What are some titles around this particular key phrase that might entice you to click, right? Or would make it so you would want to click or grab your attention. And generally speaking, to be honest with you, like, I don't necessarily love the titles that it will give, but its subjectivity of those pieces or of those titles will give me a really strong idea of where I might be able to go in that direction. Same thing with subheaders. But what I like about the subheaders is if I do the outline, what it was asking me to do before, and then I will create my own subheaders in that case, I'll ask it, hey, can you scan this and tell me if you feel like you get a complete story just from the subheaders alone? And that works out pretty well. Let's see. So I'm going to put in here to the chat, someone else asked for the Junior GPT prompt, and we've got that in there. And does that, I hope that answers the question. It's not necessarily something that I rely on too heavily, but it does give some inspiration, especially when I'm trying to write headlines and then I'm like, none of this seems interesting to me. You've got that objective point of view where you can say, give me 5 or 10, and then you're going to get a variety of things rather than just one variation of the same headline that you're sort of playing around with in your own head. So if there is nothing else, then we will conclude the stream. I will highly recommend, right? Normally we have our guest editors on here, and the guest editor will edit a piece on the other side. If you want access to the content that they have edited on this show, go to thecontentstudio.com/the-vault, and you will get access to a number of articles that have been edited by our guest editors. We've had folks from Airtable, DocuSign, Vimeo, and more. So you get to have a peek inside of there. And also, just a quick announcement, we are launching the podcast version of this show very soon. June 9th is when that's going to go live. So if you would like to know more about that, hit me up on Twitter. Tommy is my name. And we can talk about how you might be able to support the launch of the show over the podcast version. With that, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. If you like that episode, please leave a comment and a like down below. And if you want to be notified about future episodes, please go to thecontentstudio.com/thecuttingroom, enter your email address. You'll also get replays and other exclusive bonuses. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.